To Sudan, where the army declared a 48-hour truce in celebration of Eid. This has presented a slim opportunity for countries, including South Africa, to evacuate their citizens. Joining us now from Khartoum is our correspondent, Naba Modiedeen. Naba, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Has there been a ceasefire so far? Talk to us about the very latest on the ground.
The ceasefire seems to be failing again and again, with the fighting erupting all over the country and specifically in the capital Khartoum. Right now there is fighting in northern Khartoum, eastern Khartoum and some parts of southern Khartoum, and also around the presidential palace and the military headquarters. A lot of victims were killed today and a lot of people got wounded. The situation is not improving and the health situation is deteriorating, with 36 hospitals now are out of service. They cannot provide medical support or medical services for those wounded and injured. Also, there is still power outages and shortages of water and lack of food and medicine, with humanitarian aid organizations cannot have humanitarian corridors or safe access to those in need. The situation remains fragile and fluid, and we can't expect what is next, because whenever they announce a ceasefire, the two parties are not committed to this ceasefire. But the latest is the military general. For the first time, Military General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the commander of the army, said they are okay to sit on one table with the warring parties in Sudan, which is a real development, and it's hopeful that it will work this time, and it's a development regarding the escalation between the two parties. But on ground, the fighting is still happening, and the two warring parties are trying to control over Khartoum Bahri right now and eastern Khartoum, and the number of people and death toll is rising. Also, another issue is the burial of bodies that was not evacuated in downtown and eastern Khartoum. Today, a lot of eyewitnesses saw security forces taking dead bodies from the streets and bury them without even doing DNA test or telling their families, which is a real human rights problem. And of course, it will complicate the scene. The situation is not improving, but there is news that in the next few hours, many countries will try to evacuate their citizens, including US, China, France, South Africa, and many other countries. We are hopeful that the situation will stop and evacuation of foreigners will take place, and also it will be a calm time for Sudan, and stability and calmness will be restored in the country.
I was just about to ask you that. So yesterday when we spoke to the Red Cross, of course, that was when the 72-hour truce was announced. They were saying that it was going to be increasingly difficult to evacuate people, during that space, that short space of time. In terms of the citizens themselves, we know that they've also tried to leave Sudan. Talk to us about, of course, there's 7 countries that border the country. Talk to us about which countries they are going into, knowing very well, of course, that those countries themselves are faced with difficulties in terms of wars.
Actually, right now, the first choice for people is going internally in Sudan itself for logistic reasons, and also they think this escalation will stop at any moment, because people left their houses, their buildings, their offices when the war just happened out of sudden, and they are hopeful to get back soon. So people right now are fleeing to Al Jazeera state, which is in the central Sudan, and that state is big and it's nearby other states, which is the biggest region in Sudan, central Sudan, and it's relatively calm right now. People are also trying to get access to Egypt. Some people chose to go to Egypt, and people right now thousands of families arrived in Egypt, and Egypt opened the borders for wounded people and for citizens, especially women and children, and men are just doing visa procedures, and they can enter Egypt within a few days, and we are expecting it on Sunday because now it's Eid vacation. Other option for people is Eritrea and Ethiopia, because Sudan shares many borders with country, but people are choosing Ethiopia also, specifically African students who were studying in Sudan and Asian students, they fled to Ethiopia. But other countries like Libya and Chad and Central Africa is not possible because the roads take people to those places, and the countries now is blocked and it's a war zone place. Besides, the three countries are not the safest choice for people right now, specifically Chad that closed its borders with Sudan. So people right now are internally displacing and fleeing. Hopefully that it will end soon because of the Eid vacation.
Yeah, of course. Naba, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate it. Naba Modiedeen there giving us an update coming to us from Khartoum. She's our correspondent there on the ground.